One of the people I feel most sorry for is DZ, who works for TSN for Bar Down. He was actually here tonight with a camera to get ISO footage of Ali Ahmed from tonight's game.
No way.
So after 5 minutes of work, he was done for the night. So
this is Park the Bus with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane and Luke Wileman.
Welcome along to a very special edition of Park the Bus. Graham Legacy's quite empty tonight. Jimmy Brennan beside me in here. We're lonely a bit here tonight. We see the lads, we can see them on screen there down at BMO Field. Stevie, Luke and Christian Jack. How you doing, guys? How's it been down there tonight?
we're good. You know what? It's pretty dangerous to leave Kevin Kilbane and Jim Brennan alone in the bar, and Stevie is very disappointed that he's not there with you right now.
I'm jealous. I want to be there. You don't drink too many pints.
You wouldn't like it. It's too toasty here.
You know what? It wasn't actually too bad here tonight. I mean, we did have a heater in the broadcast booth. KJ is more, you know, the weather brave guy pitch side, especially after the snowstorm in Ottawa.
KJ slinked upstairs though,
he
didn't
did,
he?
though.
I missed you for a little bit. I had to come see you for a bit.
Having you up there.
But it was a pretty decent night. Full stadium. The pitch looked absolutely immaculate and held up well all night. And I think there's a lot that Canada can be happy about after that. And you know, I think obviously let's start. We didn't get a lot of chance to hear from you guys about the red card. So Stevie was adamant it wasn't a red. I think I'm probably on board with Stevie with that one. What did you guys say?
Well, if you listened to us at half-time, Luke, you'd have heard what we said. But
we didn't.
We're too busy.
Yeah,
we're too busy.
Coffee and a sandwich.
I know that. Too busy getting your cup of tea, getting your photograph taken. No, I tell you what, lads. Right, obviously the game starts off and it happened so early, didn't it? And it was out of the blue. I just felt watching it. I think the referee was just desperate to get to his pocket. He was desperate so quickly just to get the red card out, rather than, you know, it's a friendly game. Just slow it down, relax. It was a bit frantic at the start of the game. I think you said, Steve, it was reckless, didn't you? And I think it probably was a little bit. Obviously, it was a foot raise, but there was no malicious intent in that whatsoever. And, you know, Franco's going around holding his chest. The contact was actually underneath his armpit on his shoulder blade. So I don't think it was a red card. Certainly in the circumstances of a friendly, I don't think it was. I spoke to, or I had contact with a friend of ours, who we know. But
who was that, Kevin?
Well, I sought advice on this one, just to make sure that I was getting the right advice. And the advice that came back to me was, if I was on VAR, I absolutely would recommend that the referee overturn the decision. Minimal contact, no red card. And that's the way I saw it. I have to say that. That's the way I saw it. I mean, I know you thought it was reckless. Luke, what do you think? What do you think about it?
Well, first off, I think that you did a very good job of backtracking there, because I too was on that message and it was, don't say where this came from, but, and you almost actually may as well just name somebody there.
No, not at all.
So well
not
done.
At all. People can guess.
You know what? One of the people I feel most sorry for is DZ, who works for TSN for Bar Down. He was actually here tonight with a camera to get ISO footage of Ali Ahmed from tonight's game.
No way.
So after 5 minutes of work, he was done for the night. So
wow,
didn't go particularly badly for him.
Maybe he can get a flight to Vancouver because they're playing a big game. Actually, could get some ISO footage.
You know what? It shouldn't have been a red card at that point. I think I used the stat in the broadcast, something like this ref has 4 or 5 red cards in 7 games. This is the same ref that was suspended for 12 Liga MX games after kneeing a player in the groin just 2 or 3 years ago. You said, where did his cards go?
Yeah.
Like, he gave the red early, then didn't give anything for the last 80 minutes.
He starts refereeing the game like it's the World Cup final, and then he gives a red card to Ali Ahmed, which is, you know, I said reckless. Maybe it was an orange. It was definitely a yellow, but I didn't think it was a red, KG.
No.
And then there's a number of potential yellow cards. I wouldn't say there was a red card that he should have gave. And he never gave it till the last sort of 5-10 minutes of play.
Yeah.
He was all over the place, and he spoilt what could have been a good game, really.
I felt for the fans a little bit, and I think Stefan Eustáquio admitted it a little bit after the game with me. Like, you want to see the Canadians come here for the last time to watch Canada in 2025, at least get a goal. With people who went all the way to Montreal, didn't get their goal there, thought they might get a goal tonight. Jesse Marsch told an interesting story with me after the game where he said he went to talk to the referee at half-time and go, what do you think? And he's expecting him at that point to say, oh, I've looked back at it, probably got it wrong. And he stayed absolutely firm and adamant, and he basically said that's what referees do. So, look, I don't think any of us would have imagined that it would be a red card, but I don't think the referee referees the game and imagine thinking that, I might only give a yellow because it's a friendly.
Yeah.
I just don't think they referee games like that, whether we want them to or not.
Yeah.
They just see it and they just follow
KJ,
the
I know
rules.
some do. I also know that some referees do. Some referees do think about circumstances, think about the environment. It's not exactly an intense environment there tonight. It's a game that both teams need. And I feel as though that has to be taken into account, Jimmy. I mean, it was in my opinion, I just felt as though it was just such desperation to get that card out of the pocket.
Look, for me, and I said, I thought he pulled it out of his back pocket way too quick for me. He should have taken his time, walked over, spoke to the assistant, and really had a good look at the situation before giving the card. So it was way too early. It was almost like a panic mode for me. It was just quick red card and off you go. But look, we all wanted the match to be 11v11. Okay, circumstances happen. Obviously, we go down a player. But if you're looking at this, fellas, do you get something out of this game? Because this potentially could happen in a World Cup.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say, Jimmy, that, this is an experience that Canada ultimately will probably be happy that they went through. While it spoiled the night for the 28,000 fans inside the stadium, it was an experience that they went through that quite simply, after what happened in the summer with the Guatemala game in the Gold Cup, KJ, it was an experience that they had to go through, wasn't it? Because they didn't really get it right that time, and while it was a totally different opposition they were playing in the Gold Cup, the tactics that Jesse Marsch delivered on that day and the way that Canada went about it, I think, was a mistake. And whereas tonight, it was perfection after they went to 10 men. The way that they defended, while they still had some teeth, they had a big chance in the game. I felt like it was an experience that they've learnt a lot from.
I agree completely with that. I said that in my sports center afterwards with Camilla. I felt like that they learned a lot. They got it completely wrong against Guatemala when they went down to 10 men in every aspect. I think not only from Jesse Marsch's ability to not make changes and then make maybe the wrong changes, but I think almost from an emotional intelligence thing, it became like a big battle.
Yeah.
And what Stefan Eustachio said to me afterwards, I thought was right, where they were just like, we've got this, it's calm, it was measured, and that's what they needed. It was a business, it was about business, let's go out there and play properly. And nothing was a war, nothing was every individual battle, oh, here we go again, we're the victims. And I think, sometimes you're going to have to play a game like that, to Jimmy's point, in a tournament where maybe you've got a lead and you've got to suffer, and it doesn't always have to be, we're going to suffer to play in the counter-attack either. It's going to be suffer. And in many ways, it made Ecuador do something they're not used to having either with the ball. And Canada was like, okay, well, let's see if you can break us down. And in the end, I mean, close, a couple of chances here or there. The third one, which Valencia could have scored, it was offside. So if that's a proper game, that's offside anyway. And, I mean, TANI OLUWASEYI, I mean, he had great chances for Canada on the other side.
He had the biggest chance, didn't he?
Yeah. And in 5 games now, since that Gold Cup, the 2 in September in Europe, the 2 the last window and this one now, back-to-back clean sheets against common ball opposition who are coming to the World Cup. They did it today with a man down for most of the game. And when you look at what they've done, the only goal they've conceded since that Gold Cup in these windows was the error that they brought on themselves against Australia as well. So, I mean, and that's, by the way, without Moise Bombito, without Alistair Johnson, without Alphonso Davies, without tonight
Derek Cornelius,
Luke Fougerolles as well, and they're still getting these clean sheets.
Fellas, we were watching the match and we thought defensively they were good, especially in that middle third. The way that they were defending, they were very compact. They didn't want anything coming through the middle to VT, to Rodriguez. Valencia was getting starved at times, and they forced the ball out wide. But you, from up top, saw the bigger picture about their organizational shape. How did it look to you guys?
It looked brilliant, Jimmy. It really did. It was so compact, and it was what I liked about it was, and I mentioned this to Luke, it was a 4-2-3/4-4-1. So the wide players were critical, and I have to say, from a defensive point of view, TANI OLUWASEYI was unbelievable. The way that he managed to narrow in, he invited the ball out wide, he then went and pressed it, he won it back a couple of times, and then he understood when he had to track right back into a midfield and to really support his fullback and get into a deeper area. And Tajon Buchanan, while he started maybe a little bit slow, KG, came on to a better game in that regard as well. So as we talked about the difference in tactics between the 10 men in the Gold Cup against Guatemala and the 10 men tonight against Ecuador, it was perfection from Canada. They forced the difficult ball from Caicedo, from other players to try to go in behind when there was no real space to do so. So I think that the way that they frustrated Ecuador tonight, and the way that they still had a little bit of teeth, they took the game forward at times. It was long throws and wide free kicks and things like that, but they still had a bit of a threat throughout as well, KJ.
No, I agree with that. It was another profile of a game where Canada excels under Jesse Marsch. I think all of us driving here thought maybe we want to see something new tonight. No, we've kind of effectively, I think, ticked a lot of boxes that we know what this team's about when it comes to their identity in those regards. It didn't end up being that game after the red card after 5 minutes, so it gave them another opportunity to really go into something that they're getting really, really good at, by the way, now. No? Really, really good at. And when you think about where their aim is, we're all looking to the summer, tournament football. That's the kind of games you're going to have to really dig deep. Another night we'll have to talk about the forwards. No, it wasn't a night where you could even break it down as an attack. It wasn't a night where you go, why didn't the fullbacks get forward and have more play out wide? It just wasn't that kind of game. So maybe that'll be Tuesday. Maybe we'll get that Tuesday. But for tonight, evaluating it by itself as a profile of a game, I think once again we're seeing Canada really committed to the cause defensively without the ball, no matter who they play, and that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to say, look, like up there calling it, there was never a point that really felt like they were under pressure, did we? We felt like they were under the control throughout, and there was never even that sort of period where it was wave after wave. There was a real maturity to the way that Canada played. In fact, even when they won free kicks or they had goal kicks, they had throw-ins, how they slowed the play down, gave themselves the breather to reorganise. It was good stuff.
Yep. And heading to the World Cup, you can also see how Ecuador, through qualifying, did really well, finishing second in qualifying, but they didn't concede many goals, lots of clean sheets. They didn't score an awful lot either. And you could see that a lot tonight. A lot of times they were patient, but they were just lacking that cutting edge, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's look at individuals then throughout. And I know it's hard to assess from an attacking aspect, but I think Jimmy and I highlighted at half-time 2 opportunities for Canada. Certainly the chance from TANI, OLUWASEYI, which was one of the best chances of the game. Didn't find the net when perhaps he should have done, Stevie. The other chance where Richie LARYEA gets in behind, it was early on in the match, actually, where Ali Ahmed played him in, so he was still 11v11 at that stage. But again, it was a lack of quality from Richie LARYEA. Second half, Tajon Buchanan breaks the line, gets in behind a poor ball. Until they start to open up a team like Ecuador, we're still going to ask these questions over them, aren't we, with missing chances or missing opportunities when they're in key positions.
Yeah, they're certainly missing that ruthlessness. I think the other 2 we can let them off a little bit when they get in good positions, and the fatigue that you're putting into defence. So when you get in an attacking position, maybe decision making's a little bit off. But TANI, OLUWASEYI has to score that chance. Just simply has to put it away, and we could be just waxing lyrical tonight about this team, the way they defended, coming away with a 1-0 win.
1-0,
That's your chance when you've got 10 men. That's your moment where you got to just be so calm and assured and slow the heartbeat and just slot that in the bottom corner.
Jonathan
KJ.
David scores now.
He does, and it's the problem that we're not getting the right guy in the position at the right time. It needs to be David. So I go back to the question, should he be the highest player? I know he ended up there with the 10 men, but he needs to be the highest player because he's got to be the one on the end of the chances.
I mean, we keep saying this. I agree with you. The thing is that Jesse Marsch, again, in the press conference yesterday, almost referred to the front attack as being the first line of defence. And that's how he sees the game.
How he thinks,
that's how he sees the game. And again, you could see him at the end of the match. I stood out there. He's got his fists in the air. Like, he loves that battle. He loves how much they work hard and defensively. But there's going to be a moment where this era of Jesse Marsch's team is defined by a moment where are you going to score in that game? Who is going to get that moment, right? That's what it's going to come down to. It may well be TANI OLUWASEYI, but and he did press very well and work really hard, but 2 goals in 20 games, and I know TANI's hard on himself. He's had moments in those games to get more.
Yeah, and you talk about the big moments. Schaffelberg had one in Montreal against Australia as well, right at the end. Should have scored. And those moments maybe only come along once or twice in a World Cup game. But at least we did get that. Every podcast, Stevie has to mention play an extra man in midfield, play Jonathan David up top. So at least we got there, and it didn't even take towards the end of the pod, did it?
And you know what, guys, as well, when you're watching it, I think I think Jonathan David probably doesn't make up the ground to actually get the chance. If you watch it back, he's actually deeper than Jonathan David when the chance is created out wide. But the ground OLUWASEYI makes up is incredible to get himself on the end of it. So you can look at it both ways, I suppose. But I do agree, if David's in that position, David scores, Jimmy, doesn't he? And that's the difference where you're looking at that this could have been one of the more memorable performances and results.
Yeah.
Down to 10 men, you've grinded out a result against a high-ranked side like that, to do it the way that they did. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not going to be too critical of them in this game, because I think that they allowed, certainly in the first half, Ecuador had about 75-80% possession of the ball, did nothing with it, and I think they were quite content just to allow Caicedo to drop deep, have the ball, play it in front of them, no real pressure in behind, apart from maybe Enner Valencia's chance in the first half. It was a complete performance in that respect. When you're down to 10 men, and the guys were saying, absolutely learning from the Guatemala performance and how they went about it with 10 men in that game.
Yeah, look, it was a professional performance, but you're absolutely right. I think if it's Jonathan David in that situation, just how cool and calm and collective he is, he would have just side-footed in the back of the net. And I think TANI, because of the ground that he made up, it was just a reaction, wasn't it? Just make contact, make sure I hit the target. But I think when Canada went down to 10 men, I think for Ecuador, they hated that situation, because they're not the team, are they, that want to have possession, that they want to go out and break another team down. They're more comfortable sitting back a little bit and bringing them down.
You've got to recognise that when you're playing against a side that likes to have less possession, as Canada do as well. Canada just went, we'll sit off you, we'll allow you to have the ball. And I think that was certainly the mindset of Jesse Marsch and the team. I think the team knew what to expect from Ecuador, that they don't like being in possession of the ball, what you're going to do to break us down, and they weren't able to do that. And that was where I think it looked really good from Canada's perspective, guys, over there. What else? What did you think was the standout features? I know I mentioned individuals. Where are you going to on the pitch tonight then, Stevie, where you think that was standout for me? That's where I feel as though it was the defining moment of this game.
I think of 3 players tonight, maybe 4 actually. The 2 fullbacks were terrific again, and Segura is so he's so.
What did he do, Stevie?
Disciplined,
what did he do?
and sort of simple. That's the thing. He does his job, and he's just always there. He's in the right position. He plays it simple. You forget about him until the 85th minute. And you think, has he done anything wrong today?
Can I ask you a question about Nico Segura? Because I could never answer this myself. When I spoke to him after the game, he was mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
And is that because he's a player that just literally never switch? When you play with players in the past, players switch off. But he's a player who's a football, soccer, whatever you call it. He's a rat.
Yeah.
All he cares about is the game. He's off the pitch, football. On the field, football. That obviously is a massive help to him, no? Because you can see he never takes a second off.
He doesn't. He's so intense as well, isn't he?
Yeah, intense.
So you are going to be exhausted when the game ends, when you're that intense.
But that helps him, no, in a game like that.
It makes him the special player that he is, the intensity. Because, no disrespect to him, but he's not a flamboyant player. He doesn't have crazy skill. It's his brain that makes him special, KJ. And so when he's playing in a game like that and he's being dragged between, do I go to the wide man or do I come inside? With Vite making that inside run, guys, in between Waterman and himself, his concentration to decide when to tuck in and when to be a little bit wider, when to step forward was just remarkable. So he stood out to me, but I never even realised that until about the 85th minute.
And you said both fullbacks, right?
Yeah.
Nico Segura stood out because you never noticed him until the 85th minute. On the other side, Richie LARYEA is a completely different player.
Yeah.
You do notice everything Richie LARYEA does.
Because everything that happens in the game, especially from a confrontational point of view, LARYEA's at the centre of it, you know. So he stands out in a completely different way, but he still had a terrific match. And then the captain was outstanding. I'm going to leave that to KJ in a minute. But I got to say, an unsung hero tonight was Joe Waterman. He was positionally perfect. He barely made a mistake. His athleticism, which we might criticise, was never questioned against top-class players. And I thought his organisational skills and his experience was at a high level tonight, guys. So, I mean, when he's been called upon by Canada in the last, 5, 6, 7 games, he's always been there to be counted, KJ. Yeah. I'm so impressed with Waterman that I think in some ways he's starting to solidify his place in the squad. Yes, he's not going to start games if everyone's fit in the home World Cup, but he is a player that I think has some value within the group.
I agree with that. I thought he was excellent, and I think he had a bit of a point to prove a little bit, no? I mean, he's looking at what's going on around him and he's thinking, hold on, there's another lad coming in here.
Yeah.
How many more times am I going to fall down the step shot? How many more chances am I going to get? And I remember when him and Kamal played, the only other game they played was in the Gold Cup, Curacao, I think.
Yes.
And they weren't very good.
Yeah.
The game was just, it was all over the place, right?
And they
wanted that. Yeah. And you never know when you players like that, are you ever going to get a chance again to do that? Are you going to? And I think playing next to Kamal, I think he wants to lead that back line rather than having a Derek next to him or a Moyes. Like, it gets him to be the leader of that back line. Something he's done a lot for in Montreal, by the way. So I think that helped him. But I mean, the other one for me is Eustachio, the best player on the field again for Canada. And it has to be said. I said it in SportsCenter. Best player on the field for Canada today. Last time he played for Canada, I thought he was the best player on the pitch.
I agree.
And I thought he was the best player on the pitch in Romania as well. That's the last 3 times he's played for Canada, the last 9 games. He's been the best player.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty clear. I'm excited about what him and Kone are doing. I would love to see the 3 of them with Saliba at times.
He's on the bandwagon. Yes.
I saw Saliba. I saw Saliba warm up, and I kind of thought, "Ooh,
the 3 of them.
Are we going to get the 3?
Yeah.
Canada could win the World Cup, and in the post-game show, Stevie would be saying, "Well, but he should have played a 3-man midfield as they're lifting the World Cup trophy."
Yeah, he's right though. Luke, is Richie LARYEA, Luke, undroppable?
Well, he's locked in. He has to be undroppable. He's got him locked in.
I'm asking you the question,
Ask
not
him
Stevie.
to have an opinion, Kev. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, I'm not the analyst. I asked the questions,
your
Kev.
opinion, Luke.
This cannot happen again.
This is Part of the Bus. Everybody gives an opinion on Part of the Bus.
I would have Richie LARYEA in the lineup. I think you've got that one right.
Thank you, Luke.
Whether or not it's at left back or not, I don't know. But it is at a point now where it's very. And Jesse Marsch had said this before. Like, it's getting to the point where how do you take him out of the team? How can you take him out of the team?
He's been absolutely immense. 7 games in a row now where 90 minutes. He's the only player to do that for Canada. Sorry, Jimmy, I'll get back to you in a second. Yeah, he's been absolutely immense. The only thing I would say, and this is not on him, is that when he attacks in an 11v11 situation, I want someone left-footed who can swing balls in.
Yeah.
That's the thing that sometimes the attack comes to an end a little bit quicker than I'd like it to. And if there's somebody else there who can whip that ball in, and then that might not be his role, right? Maybe, but you know, it's nice to have 13 or 14 players that you can rely on to start in a World Cup. So
I think defensively he's so solid, Jimmy, isn't he? You know, and I agree with KJ. At times I'd like to see a better end product, and maybe it is harder for him on the left-hand side. But his 1v1 defending and his tenacity and the personality that he brings to a squad that's maybe lacking that kind of character is vital, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Stevie. And I think, you know, at times, I mean, look, let's get it straight first. He's a defender, and he's a very good 1v1 defender for me. I think he's absolutely brilliant. There's not many people that can get by Richie LARYEA. And Richie LARYEA going forward is an added bonus for me. And I think tonight we saw a situation as well where he gets into the box and he looks to cross it. Now, if that was on the right-hand side, that one instance, he would have actually had a shot in net. So, KJ, you're right. Sometimes you do want that lefty down that side as a make a run into the box. Don't forget, he set up
the chance for TANI on his left foot.
Right, but it was a pass back. It was a cross, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
He laid it on a platter. But there's certain times where you come in as a fullback and you're overlapping. And, Kevin, you know this as well. You want to have a strike, a lefty or a righty, having a dig on target. You know, we talked about this as well, Kevin and I. You know, you're down 10 men, and we know with Jesse Marsch, he loves his starting 11 players, and he trusts them unbelievably. Now, that game was quite hard, and it's intense, the way that they played. Were you guys surprised at all that he didn't make his first sub until the 79th, 80th minute?
Look,
yeah.
surprised.
We talked about that in the broadcast, because even in any normal friendly game, you get both coaches going to the bench around the hour mark and making wholesale changes, and it took later for Ecuador as well. 2 things. One, I think Jesse Marsch, there were 2 changes from the Colombia game, and they were enforced because of the issues at the back for Jesse Marsch. Maybe he's getting closer to the 11 that he thinks is going to start the opening game, and now the games are running out, so he wants them to get as much time as possible together on the pitch against a World Cup opponent. The other thing is, they don't play again until Tuesday. It's not the usual turnaround where you play a game Saturday and then you've got 2 days and you have to make some changes, or you have to go to your bench late in games to keep players fresh for the next game. He'd said before this game that maybe he would be able to have less rotation from game to game because there's a longer layoff now until the next game Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that could have played into it as well.
But they're all good points.
Just
Luke.
the business end now.
No, I think they're all good points. And the thing about Jesse is when you get to know him, he's open with his errors. He doesn't mind admitting where he's made mistakes. And I wonder tonight if he thought about Curaçao. And I wonder tonight if he thought about moments in the past where they've suffered and he's put on subs who've not quite reached that level immediately. And you only need to put on a couple and suddenly the drop in level, and you guys would know way more than I, but if you're out there as a 10 and everyone knows what they're doing and you bring on a couple of lads who are just coming on, getting ready to go, it only takes a second, Stevie, right?
The only time I was anxious tonight was when the subs came, actually.
Right.
You know, and it was no disrespect to the guys that came on, but you could see that the cohesion wasn't quite there, and it was the last 5 minutes or so, and you're thinking, please hold on here, they deserve this, you know. I think he didn't make the subs, guys, because he was so proud of his players and content in their performance that he felt like he did not want to disturb that until his sports scientists were telling him one of these guys need to come off. They're in danger of getting injured, they're totally fatigued. And so he pushed it as far as he could, then he had to make the substitutions. But his delight in the way that his team was playing, I think was at such a high level, he didn't want to disturb anything.
Yep. I think, like, just before we do wrap, looking ahead to the Venezuela game then, do you think changes... I think we believe Max Crepeau will start the game. Alfie Jones, we're hoping by that stage will be eligible to play. So we would imagine those two absolute starters right off the bat there. How many more changes? Where else do you see around the pitch where he could actually make those changes?
It's just instead of Ali Ahmed, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, of course.
Suspended, obviously.
That's the only one for me. I think the rest of them,
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, but the question is who? That's the big question for Ali.
So Waterman with after the performance tonight, Waterman with Jones?
I think Waterman was more
I was
secure
looking maybe...
Kamal Miller.
I mean, it looks as though he's probably... You mentioned Segur there as well. Segur, he's probably going to be able to get another 90 out of him. Would he get another 90 out of Stefan Eustáquio with the lack of game time that he's had? Richie LaRyea, you would imagine, is a certainty to play another 90 with his lack of game time recently for TFC. So he could perhaps maybe bring Basong in, play Richie LaRyea at right back. That would be an option. I doubt he'll do that, but that's an option for him. Elsewhere, there's little change, Jimmy, that you could see him actually making because of what's happened there. I mean, again, lads up front, TANI, because he's going to do another 90, but you can't imagine him changing that.
The only one for me that I think he would have a concern right now was Eustáquio. And Eustáquio was actually holding his calf, and you could see he was starting to limp a little bit towards the end before he got subbed off. And I think that would be the one individual where I would do a swap with Saliba, say, Saliba, get yourself in the middle of the park, and Eustáquio, you come off, and if we can put you on maybe in the second half against Venezuela, then we'll put you on. But that'd be the big one for me.
I did ask him after the game. He said he was fine.
An impact injury.
He just said he was fine.
Oh, okay.
But he did say that to me also in Romania, and then the next day he went home. So, I'm not quite... I'm reporting the facts, so we'll see what happens.
I thought it was an impact injury. I don't know for sure.
But he stayed on, though. We thought he was
stayed
on,
on, but he was limping, Jim. You're right. He was limping around. But
Dr. Caldwell strikes
again.
Me.
He's indispensable, though, guys. If he's fit and he's saying he wants to play, he needs to start. I mean, maybe you get him off 55, 60 minutes.
There's not another one. We haven't got anyone else like him in Canada.
He's the best.
And the other thing as well is we've seen him play well now tonight. We've seen him play well against Colombia. You said he's in the shop window. He wants a move in January.
These are big games for him.
If he wants the minutes for that reason and the fact that he's not played a lot of minutes at club level, then Jesse Marsch might go again with Stefan Eustáquio.
I agree with that.
That's a fair
and give him
point.
as much as he can, right? Yeah, I think so. It doesn't seem like a ton of rotation.
No.
There's not freebies being handed out here, guys.
I agree.
You know, they're running out of time. No, they want to be able to see it. And even more so after what happened here tonight, where Jesse Marsch and his coaching staff would have planned for, this is how we want to look as an attacking unit, and then 5 minutes into it, you rip it up and throw it away.
Yeah.
So even more so now against a team where I'm really excited against a team, no disrespect to them, but I want to see Canada now on the front foot.
Yeah.
I want to see how can you break down teams and have like 60% possession, and how can you? That's what I want to see next.
And this is no disrespect, as you said. This is a drop down from the level of Colombia and Ecuador.
They're still a good side.
Who are a good side,
they're not pushovers.
No pushovers,
but they're not in a good.
They're not in a good space, and Canada needs to go out there and dictate the play and go back to what you and Kev and Luke broke down in the pre-game, have those combinations and have those abilities to keep on feel good about themselves and just keep the ball a little bit more. And I'll just be interested to see who comes in for Ali. There's a few different names I'm thinking of. But
Who do we think, guys?
Junior,
I mean, is it Hoylett or is it Nelson? I think at the moment I'm leaning towards Junior Hoylett.
Yeah, I would probably say that would be the one. I think for his quality and everything that he's going to bring, the dynamic pace, you would naturally think Jaden Nelson comes in, but he's not necessarily fitted into what Jesse's wanted. I think with his experience, I think Junior Hoylett would be the more natural one, I would feel, that would go in there.
And his delivery
Jimmy.
as well.
Delivery, of course, as well. So, there are options, absolutely, and that'll be an interesting one to see where he's going on it, because that might tell us a little bit more ahead of next year and into the World Cup, because whoever's left out, you'd probably be thinking that guy is not going to be on the team or on the 26th for next summer.
Yeah, I tell you this, if Eustáquio can't play, Hoylett will, because set pieces I thought were tremendous tonight.
Oh, Eustáquio
tremendous.
Was
and if you can't,
on fire with his delivery.
Delivery. Set pieces were really good. And if you can't play, then you'd have Hoylett to take him.
Yeah, Luke, Stevie, KJ, go and get a cup of tea, hot chocolate, whiskey, beer, whatever you want. Go and enjoy yourself, lads. Thanks for joining us, Jimmy. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thanks for everyone for listening. We'll join you again on Park the Bus soon.
Thanks for watching Park the Bus. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.